Well, you wouldn't believe it. It's hot. We're pretty much hit the middle of summer here in northern New South Wales, and it is just muggy. Like, I'm talking, you can't do nothing without just dripping. The last couple of days have just been torrential rain. We've had flash flooding and all kinds of stuff. But, behind me now, we've got blue skies. So, I'm just grateful for that. The water around here, you can see the track of the mud. It's just been, this grate that I put in works great, but the amount of water coming off these hills, it's just crazy. Anyway, last time I was talking to you folks, I was working on the fuel setup for the 2110 that I've got, and I said, I was missing a few fittings, and they're probably not going to be here tomorrow like you guys over in the better parts of the world experience. Now, would you believe it? It has been over 3 weeks. 3 weeks since I ordered these parts online, and this little package just showed up today. I mean, it's bad. Sometimes it's just bad, and that took 3 complaints from me, emails and a whole thing to just get these parts here. So sometimes you're just better off going down to the shop yourself and picking up what you need. And do I even have what I need? Anyway, let's see. 3 weeks is a fair while between, kind of thinking about something, planning it, and then actually kind of trying to put it together. I have no idea what I was doing. I actually can't remember what I was trying to do here. So I got to kind of try and nut this out again. Let's just go through the fittings I got and see if any of it makes sense anymore. So if you remember, I was talking about using this hard line that was already pre-manufactured and made. Everything's, it needs to be tightened up. But anyway, that's the basic gist of that. Now, that was going to run down to a hose, to the carby. Yes. This was going to come up from the fuel regulator up. So I had those fittings. That was just going to be that to hose. From that, I needed fuel in, and I think that's this fitting here. How do you open these packets? Oh yes. So that was basically a to hose fitting with a hose clamp. That's kind of what I just thought was going to be the easiest way, and I think what I had in my mind for that was just that, but that's a bit silly. I should have got a 90 there. So maybe I have a 90 on another fitting that works for that. I'll dig into that. So that's the fuel regulator. The fuel regulator has a gauge that goes, pressure regulator has a gauge, and the gauge is that. This is a low pressure regulator, so I won't put any stuff on it yet. We'll just kind of see how it goes together. So that's going to sit in behind the, on the firewall to tell me how much regulation I've got. Now I think you can go up or down with these. I don't think it matters, but I should be probably going, because that's the adjuster screw on the top there, so I probably should be going like that. So I wonder if that'll turn around one hole more. It will. So that'll be the in. That'll be the up with a bit of fuel line in between it. Then I need it to be able to go a double male fitting. In plumbing terms, they call that a nipple. Don't know what they call it in these terms. I'm new to this game. And then I got like all these other fittings, like tons of them, heaps of them. Don't know what any of them do. So let's just go through them again. Heaps of those, and I think that's what I was planning on using. That's these, which in theory should screw onto that. So that's going to be lined down to the carby. I got heaps of these. I'm not sure what he was planning on doing with all of these, but hey. See, that would have worked there. I had one of these. These are like a bulkhead fitting, which I may end up using to bring the fuel line through. Anyway, we'll look into that later. That can go back in there. There's that elbow I was talking about. Does that give me anything? That's also a bulkhead fitting. So anyway, so that's that. And I've got another one of these male fittings here. That in theory screwed on there should give me that positive seal. And then I've got these two fittings. Well, it seems like I got everything I needed, which is unusual. Which is, oh no. Potentially the wrong thread. This was to go in the back of the carby, but I may have a problem here. This could be a problem. Hot damn. It looks very close. Let's go over there and see if one of these will screw into the back of the carby. Whoop, there you go. So this is the one I removed earlier. Washers on there. Oh yeah. Oh, that's going in good. So I'll probably have to put some kind of a fuel resistant Teflon, I guess, because that's not going to screw in enough for that crush washer to work. And they'll go there, fuel line up into that. So I've got all the fittings. So now I just need to assemble it. And I might finally be able to actually kick this thing in the guts. Like it's not far off. All I need, other than hooking up the fuel, all I need is, I mean, obviously the small stuff like putting plugs and that in it, but I need let's have a look at this other fitting. I need an oil return to go in there, and I believe that is, I need an elbow. I believe it's NPT thread. Let me look into this. I'm going to pull that bung out of there and we'll just see what kind of thread we're looking for. Well, I don't even know how long it is between when I started filming this episode and now. I'm going to give it a month. There's been a lot going on. I've been doing renovations, and I got to say I'm just about done. So I'm back, and where I was at, I was trying to get this fuel system put back together, and now I've got to just teach myself again exactly where I was at. So if you remember, I ordered some fuel fittings. They took about 2 weeks to come in. I refigured out what I was doing then, and now it's been another month. So, you know, God only knows where I was at. all I'm trying to do is get this thing basically ready for just a start up on the pan. I've never had this engine running. I'm very excited to get it running because this is the engine, and I've got 3 weeks of holidays. And in those 3 weeks, I got to move house, clean the old house, get a renter in the old house, and get this engine and car, and I don't think I'm going to get there. Anyway, let's give it a crack. So, got the AN fittings. I found these other fittings. So these are the two carb fittings that I ordered. So basically, that's replacing that. That was just for a fuel hose. This is going to give me the AN fitting. They seem to wind in, even though the threads look, they're the same. I'm going to use this to lock those in. It's aviation sealant. It does say on here fuel resistant. It says pipe fittings, so I'm going to give that a crack. And I'm also giving this AN fitting a crack, which I've never really used them before, so I guess what I got to do is just start. Enough jabbering. So the tricky bit, I cut all of that, I put the tape on it, I cut it with a grinder, I blew all the jazz out of it, but she's all flared out. And I just don't know if I'm going to ever get that in the pipe hole. So I might be able to if I try really hard. And hold my tongue just right. There must be a better way of doing that. Well, it turns out that you just got to keep trying. There must be a tool for getting the frayed edges in there, but I just held my tongue right and So I'll just find a couple of spanners that tighten this up, and then that'll be one. I need to make 2 of those, which will feed the carbs. And then I need to, that's pretty much it. Then I'll just run a line into there to the boat tank. And then I'll start kind of trying to bolt this all together. Again, this is not the final fit, so I may have to make these again. But I think there's special spanners for these things too, so you don't, but I'll probably end up just having to touch them up with a bit of paint. Anyway, I'll grab a couple of spanners and start tightening this sucker up. So I guess the deal is as the little thread, it pokes its way into the center of that line by winding it in, and that expands the hose so it can no longer get back out of the nut. And they look a lot better than a hose clamp, so in my opinion they do. I've never used them before, but with that engine a heap of them came with it, so I've just thought I'll just try and make them work. Right, well that's one made up. Beautiful. I'll whip the other one up, and then we'll go and see if we can't just kind of start connecting the fuel lines to the carbies. Test fitted these before. Now I'm just going to fit them on for the there it goes. Still got to bolt these carbs down as well, haven't done that yet. And that basically is just going to run up to my fuel rail like that. Hopefully a nice neat looking solution. Still got to do some kind of filter arrangement. Anyway, I'll keep bolting this all stuff together. We'll get the other one sorted. I'll take that, you can see that brass fitting still in over here. I'll take it out, get them on, put some nuts and washers on these carbs. And then I guess bring that fuel rail over, see if we can get that done. I've still got to get the dizzy cap on, leads on. It's got no plugs in it, so I've got to make sure I put the right plugs in there as well. I've got no head. Anyway, I'll keep cracking. Well, I bolted the carbs down. I actually had a whole set of hardware, like a full engine, nut, I guess, hardware kit, and I've used those for putting the exhaust on. They're like a really deep, what are they? 6mm? I guess it's a 6mm thread, with it uses a 13mm spanner, and so I've used them again on there. They look like an anodized nut. I don't know, they're black, so they look good. That's how that's going to look. So that will mount up on the firewall, like parcel tray of the bug. I think that's going to look very neat, and you can see they just swoop down real nice. That'll go down to the fuel pressure regulator, and then I'll feed down to the main feed line, which is down there. So pretty happy with that. For now, that'll just flop, and I'll just run fuel into that. Right near the power source to the battery, to the starter motor. Of course, it's going to be just perfect. The next thing I need to do, I've got all that buttoned up. I guess I need to get the distributor. Look, what I'd like to work on next is this linkage. I've got this really cool throttle linkage that I've never set one up before. So I'd like to have it just loosely mounted. I know you're supposed to tune these things not connected. And as far as I know, these are set to run. The guy I bought them off, there's a guy in Australia. I think I might have mentioned this earlier in the video, but it's been that bloody long, I forget. Rod Penrose Racing is where I got these carbs from. It's written on a box there. That's how I can tell you what they're. So they're a 44 IDF. They're his special make, made in China, of course, but supposedly he, has one factory that makes them to his spec. They're a 44 IDF, 32mm Venturi. It's a 135 main, 200 air, 52 idle with an F11 emulsion tube. Now, if that makes any sense to you, it's making sense to me now because I've been building and setting and doing a bunch of these carbs, these IDFs. So I kind of know what that roughly means. But if you don't, hey, maybe that just meant something to you. So I'm going to set this throttle linkage up. I'm not going to be able to get this thing to run. The main reason is because I'm missing the oil, from the oil pump, which is going to go to an oil filter and back in, but, that oil filter is currently mounted in that car on a different engine. So I'll probably just run a loop for now, but I still don't have the fittings for that. Anyway, let's get onto this throttle linkage, see if I can figure out how it goes together. So what I have is this CSP throttle linkage. It's a center pull throttle linkage, and I mean the action on this thing is, need I say smooth, very smooth. Stuff on the engine. Ugh. So what it does is it bolts onto this finger tight bolt, which I'm guessing is because it's been on there before. The fellow I got this off, he had test fitted everything supposedly, because things just seem to work. So I'm gonna make sure there's nothing. Ooh, more finger tight bolts. That's bad. Let's tighten them up. God, I hope there's no more finger tight bolts. Right, I'll just tighten them up. And then I can fit this on, and we'll get back to where we were. Look, I'll just grab the. I do have a spanner right here. That looks like a 17. Definitely not. Next guess will be a 15, and it'll probably be a 16. There we are. I just can't remember if I put this on. Probably did. That's probably why they're finger tight. So I'll just quickly whip all these up. Have I mentioned how hot it is? Well, my shirt's saturated. But it's cooling down a bit now. Sun's going down. My original plan was to get air conditioning in this shop, but I just ran out of money. So maybe next on the agenda. Oh yeah, okay, well that feels good. Alright, so now this bad boy goes on like that. It might fit a stock case, but not this case. I might have to do a little bit of clearancing on this. The back wants to go on, just not the front. Might just give that a bit of a round off with a file, and I'll be back. Well, I think that's how that's meant to go. I had to bend that a little. I'll probably end up pulling that off and straightening it out real nice. I wanted to leave it on there for a return spring, because I feel like, you know, a return spring's probably important. I thought this would turn, like, it seems like it needs, I mean, I don't know how much pull I need, but it seems like more than that maybe. Like, it feels like that's going to be pulling at a weird angle. I thought that would have been around a little bit more, but I can't. There's no more length on the rods. And it's the only way it can go. So, they're all buttoned up. That side, you know, I haven't tightened up the rods yet. The bottom's nuts there still need tightening as well. But the linkage is basically done. The only thing I'm missing is this fitting right here. So I need an elbow that comes out of there so I can run a loop back in, because that's my feed there. So there's the feed, boom, out of the oil pump, choom, and return into there. Which will be going to a filter mounted, you know, under the guard on the other side. But for now, I just want to run a loop to get this thing started. Also, obviously, I need to put oil in it. I have done it before. I've done it before, and I've got to keep reminding myself in this one, has it got oil? Has it got oil? And at the moment, no, it doesn't have oil. So, I've got to mount the coil. I think on this I've got the coil mounted there. In that car, that engine, I've got the coil mounted on there, but I think I also have a spot to mount it on the firewall, which I think I prefer. It looks pretty clean as it is. At the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with that little bit of progress. Am I going to kick it in the guts right now? Normally, look, I'd just be rushing, getting this thing fired up. But I'm not gonna, because I can't afford to buy another one. And this is, you know, there's a lot invested in that. I'm not going to say how much, but it's a lot. Anyway, look, I'm going to go home, probably have some dinner, come back and have another crack at this tomorrow. So this is going to be like that never-ending video because I've still got to move house. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow.